ahead and call this meeting to order. Nathan, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Biggs.
Here.
Councilmember Laraway.
Yes.
Council President Bruce.
Here.
Mayor Steer.
Here. And if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and just get this out right now. So we have the unfortunate news that our parks director lost his battle with cancer today, and he's going to be missed. He was a guy that was loved by everybody, was always there. Never once did I hear Bobby say anything like, it's not my job. Didn't matter what it was, he would step up and he would go do it. He was a friend of the fire district and the police department and Ada County Highway District and the school district and anybody you can name. He at least at one point or another helped him out. We're going to miss him a lot, and it's been a tough day. I also want to thank all our city family for having been so encouraging to him over the last little bit of time here. He was the one that actually needed a lot of help instead of being the helper. So big thank you to our city family, and Bobby had friends everywhere, so big thank you to all of them for being supportive for him. But we did name the baseball diamonds over at the Helen Zamsdale Park after him, and we'll have some more discussions on what else we can do about that. But anywhere you look in the city of Kuna, you'll find something that Bobby had his hand in, development of parks. He would make things happen when we didn't have budget for it, figure out a way to make things happen, get them done for a reasonable cost. I don't remember, Bobby'd been with us, I think, 24 years, something like that. So it's going to leave a big hole, and it's a little tough to swallow today, but at any rate. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. If there's any questions or comments.
I move we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval. Any discussion on that motion? Nathan, would you poll the council?
Councilmember Biggs.
Yes.
Councilmember Laraway.
Yes.
Council President Bruce.
Yes.
And that motion carries. Next, we have public comment. Is there anybody who didn't get a chance to sign in who wishes to address the council? I have Michael Rocco. You may have the floor, sir.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I did have opportunity on various occasions to interact and work with Bobby, and so I'm saddened to hear the news. My heart aches for that. And I did know, and I had told him on numerous occasions, that I prayed for him frequently and for his family, and continue to pray in that manner. So I'm sorry for the staff and for that loss. I'm here tonight because this is probably one of the more important meetings that a citizen should be attending from the city of CUNY, and that's related to the budget. And I would say overall that I would encourage you to take a hard look. $153 million from $112 million is an extraordinary jump. And I would just hope that we don't have a rubber stamping here. And, you know, when you look at the proprietary funds, you know, we've gone from fiscal year ending 2025 from 62 million to 26 proposed 88.7 million. I understand this includes substantial increases in the sewer fund from 24 million to 41 million, as well as notable increases in the water and irrigation funds. According to the budget, these increases are largely attributed to infrastructure capital projects such as Mason Creek Line and Lift Station and Cedar and Butler Wells. What I'd like to know, though, is what other specific replacement and rehabilitation projects cited as a justification for $62.5 million increase? Can the construction dates and system ages of the underlying infrastructure be provided? Now, I've looked in the 38 pages, and I see the notations. I think you need to dig a lot deeper. Have you had a chance to visit with the Public Works Director to authenticate these projects and assess the necessity and the timing? Look at the city reserves. According to the 2026 proposed budget, the city is carrying over $87 million in reserves. Of this, more than $49 million is allocated to water, sewer, and irrigation funds. Why is the city accumulating reserves to this scale, particularly when there is nearly $6 million in the current budget that remains unspent? Every year, the budget is growing exponentially, as do the reserves. Would it not be more appropriate to rebalance the priorities and consider returning a portion of these funds to the taxpayers through rate or levy reductions? So I just implore you to just, please don't rubber stamp this. And I know this is going to multi-step process. I only have 3 minutes to actually give input on this, but you're our mouthpieces. I'm just saying, don't repeat it again. And then the last thing, it's just more of a question, is I'd like to know when was the last time that a salary review and benchmark compensation was done for all of the CUNA city staff? Because this is important to know what is the level of competitiveness with likewise cities, and that relates to when you're going to use a cost of living increase. And I think it's the relevancy of that. If somebody is severely, or staff is severely undercompensated, maybe there needs to be a cost of living increase higher than the projected 3%. It's just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else who wished to address the council? Okay, thank you. Next, we have the Crime Stoppers presentation. Thank you. If you would just state your name and address for the record, and you may have the floor.
I should know that by now. Bree Mason, I live at 11814 West Touch Rock Lane here in CUNA. And I am the president of Crime Stoppers of Idaho. Up until this year, we've been Southwest Idaho, and thank you to you guys and the other city contracts and county contracts we have. We've been able to start really growing and expanding the program and starting to seek further financial assistance from other cities and counties outside of the Treasure Valley. So, oh, is this just it's not a PowerPoint. Okay. I'll go down here. I don't know. That's not going to play then. We have a little short video. We'll get that emailed over to you, just so if you guys want to share it with anybody that you guys want to look at it, if staff wants to look at it, we can send that over via email.
Okay.
So just a reminder, we are a 501c3. We are the nonprofit behind 343 Cops. We give the community the ability to report information anonymously to law enforcement. So we collect the tips. We actively work with law enforcement. They can conduct an investigation if they see fit. If the tipster's tip leads to a felony arrest, they can receive a reward up to $1,000. So just some fun facts we added. So Crime Stoppers the original Crime Stoppers started in 1976 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There was a fatal gas station shooting, and they believed that they would be able to find somebody that had information, but they didn't want to come forward and worry about retribution. So a detective was able to create an anonymous tip line, and since then, it worked. They were able to solve the crime, and then since then, we've had programs pop up all over the country. Boise Area Crime Stoppers was how we originally started in 1981. As I mentioned, we transitioned to Crime Stoppers of Southwest Idaho. And then this year, we've been able to expand to Crime Stoppers of Idaho. There is one other program in East Idaho operating right now, East Idaho Crime Stoppers, and we're actively working with them to look at merging our programs and figuring out how we can better help the entire state. It's just Idaho's not big enough yet, hopefully never, to need more than one Crime Stoppers program. So we're trying to work smarter, not harder. As I mentioned, there's 3 ways to submit a tip, 343 COPS. We have a 24/7 call center out of Texas. We have our website, and then we have the P3 app. Just kind of some inside information. The tipster receives a unique code, and then we have a dialogue platform within the app, and that's how we communicate with them. We have no names, no phone numbers, no IP addresses, no way of linking back who's corresponding with us, and then all of the information, even how to pick up their reward, is all through that unique ID number. There's over 1,200 programs operating throughout the United States and across 30 different countries, and over 1 million arrests have been made globally thanks to tips through the Crime Stoppers program. So as you guys know, we have been creating these contracts, and fortunately, I believe this is the 3rd year that we'll be able to hopefully continue this partnership with you guys, who we're contracting with, and who we're continuing to, as I mentioned, we're continuing to try and grow this, working closely with Twin Falls area, and then the North Idaho, Kootenai County area. So part of our agreement that we come up with every year, that includes our 24/7 call center. We do appreciate having them. They can immediately contact dispatch. So if they receive something from us that needs immediate action, they can immediately contact dispatch on our behalf. We also have our website that has all the information, has our most wanted guys on there, and they can submit a tip as well. And then our city events, we participated in CUNA Days last year, which was great, and we are signed up and looking forward to doing that and participating in that again this year. Just a couple other ideas that we've done. We've done some Saturday markets, coffees with a cop, shred days, and we just recently did the Star Fishing Rodeo. As I mentioned, there's the app, and then we have the Crime Stoppers signs that have the QR codes that need to go, that can be hung at parks or wherever you guys would like them. So if those need updated or you want any new ones, feel free to let us know and we can get you those.
Okay.
Our annual budget's about $80,000, and in order to reach that goal, we came up with a per capita number of 11 cents. We have not raised that since 2020, since we started our endeavors with the contracts. The amount has gone up just a little bit just because of population. We've changed the population's changed a little bit. So this year we're requesting $3,465. This money would go towards our software, our website, the call center, the phone line, our trailer, marketing materials. Fortunately, we were able to hire a administrative coordinator. She's been with us for just over a year. That's Casey back here. She's really helped us allow us to get these meetings scheduled, get all of our city events coordinated, and make sure that we're really continuing to keep our bonds strong and those relationships intact with each of our law enforcement agencies. And then as well as going to the conference at Crime Stoppers USA, where we're able to bring back a lot of really good best practices, make sure that we're running the program the way that we should be. And then just a reminder, our rewards are not paid out through city funds. All of our funds are paid out by private donations and corporate sponsorships. Since inception of our program, we've had over 19,000 tips and 665 arrests, and we've paid out over $81,000 in rewards. And then those are a couple stats, about 1,100 tips last year, 11 arrests. We're a little higher now. We're about 900 tips since we made this, and 7 arrests so far. And these are calendar year to date. So last year and this year, we had 17 approved rewards. We paid out $5,800. Here's just a few of the mug shots of people that we were able to assist law enforcement with capturing. One of them was a 15-year fugitive with the Department of Corrections. We were able to get a tip and lead them to him. A lot of felony possessions of firearms, aggravated assault, commercial burglary, trafficking cocaine, grand theft, a lot of felony warrants, drug possession, and home robbery. And then here's just a couple pictures from events that we've been at. These two, I believe these two right here are from CUNA Days, last year. So if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, very nice. Any question?
I do have a question. You have all the badges and patches up here. Does Eagle not participate?
Eagle did not participate in 2025. They did not participate as far as assisting for the funder, like for financially. We do continue to support them, and they did have us come back, and we just presented for them a couple weeks ago.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for helping get these folks off the street, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a great program, and we are proud to be a part of it, so.
Well, thank you. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to present and continue to partnership with you guys.
I know it's helpful when we get tips. If we can cut down the hours the detectives have to work, that's a big deal, so.
That's our hope. Our biggest thing is we know that they're going to do their job with or without us. We just want to be an extra resource for them.
That's great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks very much. All right, and that takes us to the first public hearing. Consideration to approve case number 2502AN. Marina or Doug, take this, okay?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. For the record, Doug Hansen, Planning and Zoning Director, 751 West 4th Street, CUNA, presenting on behalf of Marina Lundy. The application before you this evening requests annexation into CUNA city limits with an R6 zone. The applicant has requested to annex in order to receive pressurized irrigation through Public Works. The parcel touches city limits on the south and west property boundaries, and the proposed R6 zone matches the city's future land use map. Staff would like to note that the applicant currently uses the property for agricultural purposes, which will be allowed to continue as a legal nonconforming use until such time that the property develops in the future. The applicant will also maintain their agricultural exemption with the Ada County Assessor's Office. Staff has reviewed the application for compliance with CUNA City Code, Idaho statutes, and the comprehensive plan. And should the council approve the application, staff recommends the applicant be subject to the proposed conditions as recommended and outlined in staff's report. And with that, I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, questions for Doug? Okay,
Hey Doug, so you mentioned at the beginning from R1 to R6, so that they can utilize pressurized irrigation. Why couldn't you use it as an R1 designation?
For the record, Doug Hansen, Planning and Zoning Director. So that is a county zone, so they needed to annex into the city in order to receive a city service. They chose the R6 zone because it complied with the future land use map.
Okay. So okay, thank you.
okay.
Actually, I have a question for the applicant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Noel, if you would like to come up, you may step up to the mic. And if you would just state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Noel Hudon, 847 South Ash Avenue, CUNA, Idaho.
I just wanted to make sure that you reviewed everything. This was a long time coming, so.
Yes, well, we're working hand in hand. I mean, I'm working with Adam
Yeah.
quite a bit. We're still working. It's proof's in the pudding. I mean, we're all coming to the table, we're all talking, everything's up front. So I really appreciate that. And it is definitely nice to, look at this annexation because, it started off, I mean, I've been a CUNA resident for many years. And I started off, my kid was in with the mayor's youth council.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, we go way back, you know, so it's kind of nice. I mean, I moved out, I still in Cuna, but we just happened to get, you know, a property that was in the county. So for me, it's kind of like, hey, I'm happy to be back, you know, I mean, I like the city of Cuna. And I helped grow this city of Cuna. I'm a retired Air Force, my wife's retired Air Force, I'm a retired clinical social worker, you know, like to say I'm a benefit to this community, and happy to be here. So.
I just wanted to make sure I know we had the water issue. This fixes what you were,
Well, I'll tell you what, it definitely, we're working on it. You know,
Okay.
we don't know because, you know, we're looking at, you know, as Adam says, I mean, we're taking something that's conceptual and we're trying to make something work the best that
Okay.
we can work. Is it gonna be perfect? No, it's gonna be bumps and scrapes along the way and we're gonna work with that.
okay.
You know, I'm not, you know, that's what we're here to do. I mean, I'm not your enemy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm here, I'm part of the city, you know, I mean, you know, take our time. And we've been here 5 years, guys. 5 years, you know, and, you know, it's taken some time, but, you know, we're gonna work these last little kinks out. We're gonna work them out.
Well,
You know,
I
it's
just wanted to
okay.
make sure that it was meeting your needs. I know we had talked a
It
lot
is.
and that,
It is.
Adam, thank you a lot.
Yeah, it's, you gentlemen right here, man, it's just awesome,
Okay.
you know, so thank you.
Okay. Anything further?
No, sir. Councilman,
All
Thank you.
thank you, Noel.
And this is a public hearing. I didn't have anybody sign up to testify. Is there anybody who wishes to testify in this matter? All right, very good. Well, then,
I move we,
rightfully before the council.
I move we close the public hearing and move to deliberation.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
So there were a couple of, in the findings for consideration from the staff about any future, so requiring some improvements to Sunbeam and Ash. If there was any sort of improvements in the future. Now, I don't know if legally we can hold that to them with just an annexation. That would come down later down the road. is what I
Right.
understand, so.
Yeah, and this started off with, he had the property that the waterhead was cut off access to it, and he was using the waterhead at the bottom. So this brings him into the city and allows him to get access back to his irrigation water.
Yeah, it's solving a water issue
Yeah.
rather than an annexation so that he can develop, but it's part of that process, so. Yep. Anything further?
No?
Okay.
I move we approve case number 25-02AN.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded for approval of case number 2502AN. Is any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? And that motion carries. That takes us to consideration to approve case number 25-01-DAN, de-annexation. Doug Hanson.
Mayor and council, for the record, Doug Hanson, Planning and Zoning Director, 751 West 4th Street, Cuna. The applicant requests de-annexation from Cuna city limits. The site is located at 6820 South 10 Mile Road. The property was originally annexed on May 2nd, 2006 as a part of a 10-acre annexation. The property is not serviced by city water or wastewater utilities. The result of de-annexation is not anticipated to cause any immediate or foreseeable future complications or detriment to the continued operation of city infrastructure. Cuna city limits are adjacent to the east, south, and west of the subject site. Therefore, the de-annexation, if approved, will not create an enclave to prohibit surrounding property owners from requesting annexation in the future if desired. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, questions for Doug?
I have none on this one. Councilman Biggs? Councilman Lorway?
Okay,
Yeah.
and this is a public hearing. I didn't have anybody sign up to testify. Was there anybody who wished to testify in this matter? All right, seeing none.
I move we close the public hearing and move to deliberation.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Any thoughts, Councilman Larway? I know you had.
Yeah, I've never been involved in a de-annexation before. I don't know. I don't know why they would do it, but I guess that's their prerogative as landowners. Just seems odd, but.
And they're not using any city services anyway.
Well, if they decide to develop in the future, they'll have to just come right back in.
But it's basically one housing lot. So
Yeah.
there's really no.
Do you have
They
anything?
just felt it would be better in their instance, and this is something that we had, part of the negotiation that we had with the family. It's the one adjacent to the wastewater plant.
Okay.
So this reverts back to county.
Yes. And the county didn't have a problem. They did it first because the county thought we were providing services. Once that was clarified, then the county didn't have
No problem
a
with it.
problem with it, so.
Councilman Biggs, anything else? I move we approve case number 25-01-DAN.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve case number 2501-DAN. Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? And that motion carries.
And then we are going to table this case number to July 15th. Is that correct, Mr. Doug?
For the record, Doug Hanson, Planning and Zoning Director. That is correct.
Okay. I move we want to table case number 24-09AN and 25-06S to a time and date certain of July 15th.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to table this public hearing for the July 15th regular council meeting. Any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that motion carries. That takes us to budget workshop. Jared Impey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Per Councilman Bruce's request, tonight is a continuation of the budget workshop that we started last meeting. The numbers presented in the packet are the same, as we still have outstanding true-ups from the following categories: payroll, capital expenditures, and property tax revenue and police services. Necessary payroll changes include the true-up of recently hired employees and the finalization of COLA numbers. Then the expected capital expenditures include a reduction in expenditures from the park's dump truck purchase and a shift in cash flows from fiscal 25 to 26 for the council chamber build project. Lastly, we have now received better property tax figures from the county for tax year 2025. This levy will be collected in fiscal year 2026 of the city, which will result in a very modest increase in the figure presented in the first workshop for property tax revenue. Then, just before entering the meeting tonight, the police chief informed me that we will have a reduction in our police contract amount due to a lower approved COLA than he had previously thought. All of these changes will be fully reflected at the next meeting for our tentative budget, which will be on 7/15. In addition, I have included an historical reference of the property tax levy of the city as compared to police services on page 265 of the packet. This page shows the ratio of the city of Cuna's police budget compared to the levy as a percentage. This historical trend clearly shows the effects of House Bill 389 of 2021 and the side effects on Cuna's ability to fund police services and obtain the important one officer per thousand ratio. Moreover, this page highlights the effects of House Bill 389 on individual residents' property taxes. As we discussed last time, this is an open forum for the mayor and council to openly discuss the fiscal 2026 budget and address any concerns you may have. I await any questions you may have.
Mr. Biggs, did you have?
Questions? Yes, go ahead.
So I think, I originally wanted, I appreciate the input, Jared. Just looking at the whole, when we look at what we've grown and proportion to multiple years, 112 million, now to 153. I just have concerns about what we keep, same thing as was stated earlier. And I've also asked you guys, what's a percentage that the city should keep in funds? How much is too much, how much is enough? Have you ever given that any thought to how much, take your treasurer hat off and what should a city government keep in its accounts? Rather than continuing to grow it, because I just have concerns. I voted against it last year, and because of the increase there, and I have the same kind of concerns for this year. What's a good number? Can you give me a good number of what you think we should have in our accounts?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, so the reason for increases over time is mainly due to conservative budgeting. The top numbers, 153 million, 112 million, 106 million is reflected on page 263 of the packet. Those aren't as important as the actual spending. So in the email that I sent you, Councilman Bruce, we went over what the actual amounts that we were expecting as opposed to the expenses that we were expecting. Those top line numbers include carryover, and they also include contingency. Carryover is what the money that carries over from one year to the next. And contingency is what we expect to basically put in our savings account. The savings account is used for depreciation, essentially for asset replacement in the future, for investment purposes, so that we can subsidize our current residents through interest earnings. And so when you actually look at the true spending, which is if you strip out carryover and contingency, honestly, the budget hasn't really increased dramatically. So for instance, if you look at, I think that originally in our conversations, fiscal 2021, that was originally formulated in 2020. 2020 was a year marked by lockdowns, a once-in-a-century pandemic, and a lot of market uncertainty, high unemployment that spiked for at least one quarter. And so there was a lot of uncertainty that arose in the spring of 2020, which would have reflected the 2021 budget. As such, we were very, very cautious, and we made sure to not get out over our skis. And so that's item number one. Then as we came out of COVID, it was pretty obvious that the economic recovery that resulted either was difficult to determine if it was going to be long-lived, because many of the reasons for growth were due specifically to COVID. Essentially, people were moving to for greater freedom or for other reasons, and so we weren't sure if those migration patterns were going to continue. As such, if you look at the actual spending as opposed to just the top line numbers, which essentially inflate everything. Fiscal 2023, we actually saw a reduction in revenue that we were budgeting. Expenses actually went down 5.5% from fiscal 22. Fiscal 24, we saw a little bit of an increase. Fiscal 25, as compared to fiscal 24, we actually saw a decrease in revenue. Then fiscal 26, we're projecting an increase which is substantial, 40% over the prior year. The reason is because fiscal '25, that was developed during an election year in which there was a lot of uncertainty. You never really know how things are going to turn out. And so, again, we very cautiously budgeted. And as such, with fiscal '26, we're seeing in the current fiscal year a record-breaking year for building. Essentially, we're up 60% from where we were last year at the current point for building permit revenue. And so there's a lot of optimism in the local market because of that. If you remember from our last budget workshop, we discussed what each market, real estate market, is doing in the West, and the Boise market is one of the lower markets, which reflects kind of where people may be looking, and there's a lot of positive remarks in national publications about the Boise area, which has drawn a lot of people in. As such, fiscal '26 is a year in which we're kind of having a little bit more confidence in the economic situation, and you can see that through Fund 5, which is our latecomers fund. We expect a very robust year, and you know, some of the other funds didn't exist in prior years, such as our sewer and water east funds. So it isn't always an apples to apples comparison. If you just look year over year, you actually have to look in the nuts and bolts of each year to really determine what is going on. Then to answer your second question, what is sufficient? Since this is an open forum, I would then ask every elected official rhetorically if they were comfortable a few years later going to the public and requesting additional tax levy or for rates to go back up in case they were needed.
Oh, and I asked that question is because I know that we've discussed not using bonds or not having to bond and continually to keep money, but at the same time, if we're taking money from people that are here, and so we don't have to bond in the future, the people that are here are paying for it and not new growth or people that are going to be moving here. And so we continue to take the 3% and 5% new construction where we're taxing the folks who are here and not the people who are coming down the road. I would just like to see maybe, and maybe this is a bigger conversation for council to have about what we think we should have in our, you know, what is a good number for us, 3, 4 months, 5 months, you know, just maybe that's a different conversation that we have. But when you say that this number is not really, that we shouldn't be looking at the 153 million, is that what you're asking to spend? Is that what you want us to approve?
So that's the top line number that we always put in our ordinance. However, that isn't saying that we'll actually spend that much money. Those are just because essentially when you have savings, you are buying investments, and so that every dollar has to have a name, as a famous finance guy always says. So.
Well, I think also you're talking about an overall budget, and the proprietary funds aren't something that we can
Right.
flip over to use for other
Yeah.
things, so.
And I get
with
that.
the proprietary funds, you know, we have an aging wastewater system that's gonna be hitting 50 years old here soon. Adam came on, and I believe that he is still working through what that looks like for capital projects. We've got the 10-mile lift station over here is gonna be really expensive to replace. Gonna have to happen. Haven't pulled the trigger on it yet just because of circumstances, but those funds are gonna be used up. You know, it used to, so when I first came on council, I think we were using $1 million per mile is what it costs to put in a sewer line. Now I think we're somewhere in the $3 million range because of inflation, so
And so
these
are-
costs are going up and they continue to go up, so we're trying to work our way through this system so we can get these dollars spent, get the improvements made that need to happen. City of Nampa here 4 or 5 years ago, they had to run a bond for wastewater treatment because they didn't plan ahead on replacing aging infrastructure and keeping up. And so that's been our goal, is to keep up so that we don't have to go out and raise people's property taxes in order to cover those funds. I don't know where we're at now on, so the actual monies for property taxes, Jared ran the numbers, and 101% of the property taxes were gonna go to policing. Now I guess there's a little reduction in that, so we may be under 101%, but.
And maybe the breakdown is, some of the other cities, they'll actually talk with every director. So the director will come in, and that's where it's important for maybe Adam to say, hey, these are the projects that we have. We're saving this money for that, rather than them going to Jared, and he knows, and then presenting us with a number, because all our constituency is the big number. So they're, you know,
Certainly.
so they're like, this is, you know, an extreme amount of increase over time. So I'd like to get to a point to where we could say, hey, each department comes to us and said, this is what we need to operate, this is what we're saving for, and maybe it would be a little clearer for us and for the community.
And I appreciate that. I think that's something that we need to start doing, so we'll make that happen.
That would provide the valuable context, because me, as a non-accountant and not the smartest guy, I go online and I just look and see, you know, where others I go in the Treasure Valley, you know, I just look at, the bottom line numbers for Meridian, 256 million, Nampa, 290 million, Caldwell, which is, their populations are quite a bit more than CUNA. Meridian's 130,000, Nampa's about the same. Caldwell's, what, 70,000, 60,000, and they're at 137 million. And Eagle, which is about the same size as CUNA, is 61 million. And we both, and so some of them also have their own police force and stuff, so those are the things I'm kind of looking at and comparing. And I know you can't compare apples to apples in this situation, there's a lot of variables. Some of them don't have the same, you know, sewer, wastewater like we do. Eagle, I think Eagle feeds off of Meridian or Boise. Boise. So, so those are the things that I look at, and like Councilman Bruce just said, our constituents look at that bottom line and there isn't a whole lot of context behind it. So that's where this, something like this would be valuable, having the department heads, you know, say, this is what we're, you know, Adam mentioning, this is the project we're gonna work on because of the condition of the wastewater treatment plant or pipes or lift
And we
stations.
can certainly do that.
Well,
I
and-
have no problem. I think that would be educational for all of us.
And I looked too, at 112, last year, we spent 106 total, so we had roughly 6 million that we didn't spend from where we gave the okay. So it's just hard for me to swallow that we're moving up that amount. You know, we were okay then, we weren't firing people, we were still hiring people, we took care of their wages. You know, so for, you know, I still just have a hard time wrapping my mind around those numbers of increase in general, so.
Councilman Bruce, so you were referencing that we spent 106 million. Where are you getting
So
that?
that's on the comptroller's website.
Yeah,
So the
there is
transparent-
no fiscal year in which we have spent 106 million dollars.
So then the comptroller's Transparent Idaho website is incorrect?
It must be, because the most we've ever spent in one fiscal year is 49, is 60 million.
No wonder our state taxes are so high, right?
Well, and we get, and that's the Transparent Idaho website, so you can go and look at cities, and it'll tell you what. So last year alone, you said not to look at this 112 million. So out of this 112 million, you said we spent how much?
So last year, the actual revenues were about 49 million, and in the budget, we had about 60 million.
And then how much did we have in transfers? Because I know that was something that you had discussed.
I don't have that number for fiscal 2024.
May I say something?
Yes, you certainly can.
I guess in simplicity on my part, I know we have Ada County prosecutors come in here, and they give us a line budget of what they need. I think it would be helpful for us, and I'm not gonna use Adam for an example, but I am, if he got up and said, this is how much, in public or I don't care how we do it, but I need this much because this is what I'm budgeting for. Here's the number. And then Parks Department, here's what we're budgeting for. Here's the number. That way we're understanding where the money is going and why, rather than this big number where we really don't know where everything's going.
Yeah, so,
Does that make sense?
yeah, so Councilman Laraway, so we provide all the detail in the supporting documents. So if, maybe if Nate could scroll down.
So Transparent Idaho actually.
So if you scroll down, Nate, this is the detail for the past, what is that, 5 or 6 years? So you'll have budget, actual, and those all add up to the totals. So, this is the meat of everything that, the summary page, provides. And those say everything that we spend on tools, on office supplies, on police services. This is really the detail of everything. And so, I mean, one reason that we omitted individual director reports with the budgeting process was to streamline the process. Since at a staff level, we had already kind of worked those kinks out, and because we had already kind of fine-tuned exactly what everyone was wanting and already balanced everything in the preliminary director negotiations. In fact, when we went through everything as directors, I believe that we cut $31 million out of the budget for unnecessary purchases. So we're definitely cutting down and making sure that our budgets are balancing.
So it includes the general fund expenditures, which I think is what you were talking about, and then it includes capital improvement projects as well, plus law enforcement, wastewater. So it breaks it all down. That's how I got that total.
Yeah, I
Because you
mean,
turn these numbers into the comptroller, correct?
I believe so, but I'd have to look exactly what you're referencing. So, but these are the numbers that show the detail of everything.
So yeah, I think overall, we just need more transparency about so everyone up here understands it. You know, what we're spending money on, where it's going, how much we're actually increasing it. Because, you know, if we look at this numbers, we see a number here, and then we have the treasurer saying, well, you don't want to look at that number, which we're putting this out to the community, you know? And so when we look at, and I don't remember even coming out of COVID, I know that you said we had tightened our belt, but we weren't laying off people then, we weren't, you know, so it's hard for me to grasp this kind of growth over time. And maybe, you know, we do it at the state level. What does it take to run the government, and then the maintenance, everything it takes to run it, and then everything else extra that we need? So I think maybe discussing it with the directors, especially as we grow into a bigger city, have that discussion, so.
Well, and that might work for general operations, I think capital projects and replacement and that type of thing. That's going to be
Yeah.
hard to put a percentage on, but I think we can certainly do that with estimating population growth and system growth and number of employees that are needed. And we make those requests every year, so that shouldn't be difficult. And then the question did come up earlier, how often do we do a study on wages for our employees? Those studies are really expensive. What we were able to do, actually, I think it was 3 weeks ago, Nancy, the city of Eagle did one, and Nancy met with them, and we were able to farm off of what they had paid for to get done. So we were able to do those crosses that way. We're actually looking at membership into a program that would update every time we put out a request for a new employee. So then that would keep us current, up to date every time we're looking at a new hire. So this is a system that I learned about at the conference. So I think the membership for that was like $600 a year. So that would be very valuable for us as a city to have. Anyway, I've got. I
Yeah, you
didn't
got
wanna
some
just-
ideas.
Yeah, so I got it through HR to make sure that it fits everything that they want to see and work on, so.
Well, thank you, Jared.
That's
That
not
gets,
even a budget request that Jared knows about yet, so.
well, and this will give more people context for who's listening, who can come back to the public hearing and have input on it as well.
Sure.
So I appreciate you taking the time.
I do too, and this is, it's fascinating. Well, this is a lot of numbers and a lot of details, so it's helpful to get the explanations. One of the things that I was going back to, that I think Mr. Rocco was mentioning earlier, was the city reserve carryover, $87.6 million. And then going back to what Councilman Bruce was saying, is how much is enough
Yeah.
for that? And is there flex, you know, instead of taking 6%, we take 3% or something, or this, for that, so to give something back to the taxpayer? I
Well,
don't know
not-
if that's something on your minds or not, but.
Well, and I know we talked about it last year, not taking the 3% of property tax, just the new construction. You know, but also too, if we're paying for just law enforcement there, you know, where's the cap of, our contract with Ada County? Because I think you said that we're paying our total, essentially our property tax covers our law enforcement contract, so. But it gives us some food for thought, and we can have more conversation about it down the road. I would like to know what our transfers are.
Specifically,
For next year, you know, the transfers that go back and forth in the accounts, because I think those, you know, when we spoke before, those could.
yeah, so they're outlined in the detail pages. So,
On what page?
essentially, there's transfers between the Latecomers Fund. What is that?
If you just tell me the fund, I can look it up.
Yeah, so the Latecomers Fund, there's a transfer between the Latecomers Fund and the Sewer Fund, because the Latecomers Fund is reimbursing the Sewer Fund for the construction of the Mason Creek line. And there's also a transfer between the Police Impact Fund and the General Fund, essentially repaying the General Fund for
For the bill.
construction of the building here.
Okay.
I have another question for you, Jared.
Sure.
Make this simplicity, if you will. You say, and I'm looking at, well, that's 2021. What's the police budget for 2025?
So maybe let's just scroll back to page 265 of the packet.
So that's the current one?
So on page 265, I kind of have it outlined here, all the way back to 2017. So as you can see, in 2017, you have our budget. We were about 77% of police. The police budget was 77% of the property tax overall budget. And that stayed pretty consistent, you know, between 70 and 80% roughly, clear up until 2022, 23 roughly. And then once House Bill 389 got enacted, basically that trend kind of started getting really, really close to 100%. And now we're basically right at 100%. So if you take less than the maximum amount, it's pretty inadvisable, because then essentially you're not funding police services. Also, if you look at property tax year down below, it shows kind of what the average is for a resident paying property taxes in the city. I did an analysis of about 30 properties. Some of them have been here, you know, a long time. Some of them have been here 3 or 4 years. And as you can see, if you look at the 2024 number, that the average property tax that somebody pays is about $1,400. The height of the property tax bill was about 2021, which is right when House Bill 389 was enacted. And that was about, that amount that someone would owe was about $2,070. So as you can see, most people's property taxes have decreased 30%, despite the fact that we've taken the 3% and the full amount from new construction every year. So really, not taking the full amount that we're eligible for is really pretty inadvisable because we're not funding ourselves.
And that's
Well, and-
city property taxes, not all property taxes.
Well, and I think it's not necessarily we're not funding it, we would just carry a lower balance in our cash carryover. So it's, that's just a difference of, again, how much cash should a city government keep on hand for the future?
The reason I asked about the police budget being, here in 2017, it was 77%. I understand that years ago, but with the money that Meta has thrown in, does that change the property tax number?
So it hasn't changed the property tax level yet because they haven't begun paying yet because they haven't gotten their certificate of occupancy yet. So that hasn't necessarily factored into anything. That said, we did get a mitigation payment, which is making it possible to still fund police services. So getting rid of carryover balances is essentially eroding our ability to subsidize the homeowners, because if you get rid of your carryover balances, that's reducing how much interest you're earning, and if you're reducing how much interest you're earning, then that hole has to be made up somewhere.
And I didn't say get rid of it completely, I think then it goes back to the question of what is enough, for a government to have. So that, and that's a difference we can have a discussion on. Now, the other thing I had a question about I know STAR does a mitigation fee, have you looked into that for police services or?
Yeah, so the mayor and I, so we've looked at that. That really only makes sense at time of annexation. Or through very specific projects in which the developer is amenable to that. So we enacted that with Project Gemstone, the second data center that came before you in April, and they were amenable to a mitigation fee. And so really only with specific projects is that really an option. If you do it like STAR did, I'm not an attorney, but that's questionable on legal grounds, and I don't want to venture into questionable legal grounds.
And that does, the monies that Meta has paid us, that does skew the carryover for the general fund, because that's gonna be paid out over a period of 21 years. It shows as a carryover from our general fund, but we have to use that, as we agreed in the contract, over that period of time.
Okay.
So that money can actually be taken off the top of that if you're looking at carryover and what we're carrying as a balance on the general fund, because that's already contracted. It's gonna be spent, it's just sitting there for now, but it does skew that number, make it look like we got a lot of extra money.
Right.
That's already accounted for.
Yeah, and another issue is that just from a general finance standpoint, if you have a fixed service that you're legally required to provide, you should have a fixed stream of revenue. Because if you have a variable revenue, then you can have a situation where you wake up one morning and you don't have the money to provide the service. So for that reason, we try and have a fixed revenue stream for police services, because as a government, that's really your number one priority, is to maintain the safety of your city.
And do we also fund police services through our Ada County taxes, do you know? That we pay to the county?
I mean,
I haven't looked, I was just curious. Okay.
Mike Fertusco, Chief of Police, City of Cuna, 793 West 4th Street. I believe you have to, due to the jail. I would like to add in there that, if I may, if you look at the city of Star and Eagle, they're paying way over 100% of their property taxes. The city of Cuna, correct me if I'm wrong, I sent that information out. Our taxpayers pay the least amount amongst any city in Ada County for law enforcement.
88% is what it says. Here, right?
The yearly report I send out to you, gentlemen, through email, will show you that city of Cuna pays the least amount for law enforcement.
That was broken down into dollars per
Yeah.
citizen.
Sorry, I was talking about what Jared had provided in the packet. He broke it down for us. And I'm not saying get rid of it, I just want to clarify that, I just, I think, but thank you for the conversation, I don't have anything else.
And then I think that you've had some questions about what to do that you're working through on House Bill 389. I think Jared's got some good insight for
Yeah.
that. If you want to have an offline discussion with him about what that looks like.
Yeah, and just trying to figure out what, how that's constrained us, for services like that that need to be maintained, so.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so Councilman Bruce, just as an aside, if we had the same levy rate that we did in 2021, we could fund 9 more officers.
Okay.
And that's just the effect that House Bill 389 of 2021 has had. We could fund 9 more officers than we currently have. And that was after House Bill 389 was implemented for 1 year.
Awesome. I don't have any other questions. I appreciate the conversation. I think, if we get it to where we can discuss it with the directors like we talked about, that'd be better.
Okay. All right.
Just as a whole for the community, for the council,
Okay, very good.
thank you, Jared.
All right, no further questions for Jared? Okay. And we'll be back with that again next time, so. We do need an executive session, if you would motion that in.
Who do we need?
We will need legal and Jared. And who else do we need? I think that's it for this discussion.
I move we adjourn to executive session under Idaho Code 74-2061F with the legal team and Jared and council and the mayor.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And that's all we're gonna have tonight. We aren't gonna make any decisions in executive session, so.
John?